What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am talking about the latest offering from Graceless, Icons of Ruin. This also came out on May 30th, this time on Listenable Records, and if I recall, this is the band's fourth studio full-length overall. This is my first time checking this band out. This is a Dutch Death Doom band, and I've been needing to check out some more Death Doom of bands I've never heard of. Although I do know that some of the members of this band are current and former members of bands like Soulburn and Grand Supreme Blood Court, so there is definitely a lot of Dutch tie-ins with this band. And here we are with a fourth studio album from them, and my first time ever checking this band out. And I will go ahead and say, spoiler alert, I was pleasantly surprised with how good this was. As we kick off with God Shines in Absence, right out of the gate you get an idea of the production. It's grisly, it's got a very old school sound to it, old school vibes, but the mix is well balanced. Like, the bass is pretty much audible throughout the entire album, so is everything else, and nothing weighs on top of each other. It's all evenly balanced, and that's a huge strength for this album. But musically, the song starts off with a really cool build, and then it kind of turns into more of an old school death metal song. Like, there's really no doom to speak of on this track. Like, it's largely thrashy rhythms and grooves with nasty tremolo riffs. And the vocals, almost, I gotta admit, kind of sound like they're in between Martin Van Drunen and Carl Willits. Like, it's kind of like in that middle ground where occasionally the frontman will get a little bit kind of dry like Martin, but he's got a bit more of like that Carl Willits energy to his vocals, so he kind of sounds like a hybrid of both. And yeah, this was a great song to really get things going in a big way. And then suddenly, moods start shifting almost immediately as we get into Sanctified Slaughter. You do start off, and for the most part, the song is very much like a bolt thrower, double time stomp, and it chugs very nicely. But then you also get into the doom. And I gotta admit, a lot of the doom vibes on this album remind me a lot of Asphyx. So, which makes the most sense considering, Asphyx, not only one of the first death doom bands, but also country brethren out of the Netherlands. It just makes sense. But then the song towards the end, it does speed up a little bit more. And you do get like more thrashy tremolos to kind of add a little bit more energy behind the song. And then for the most part, the rest of the album kind of has a lot of ebb and flows. Like Lash Me to My Painful Death, you start getting like little hints of like dissonant melodies or atonal melodies to kind of add maybe a tiny, tiny hint of like incantation into some of the moments on this album. But then you do get like doomy rhythms, but with a tremolo riff on top, even a really cool tribal groove. Night of the Slain, it kind of goes back a little bit more towards the bolt thrower vibes. Like, there's really no doom on here. It's mostly gallops and chugs like bolt thrower, but lots of harmony and melody on this track, and it does eventually get into a double time stomp. But man, this song almost goes for like bolt thrower times 5 at times. But then, probably the most different song on the entire album, Hardening of the Heart. Dare I say there's some classic heavy metal going on this track. Like, it's very melodic. It starts off with a clean melody, but riff-wise, it mostly follows classic metal riffs, but it does turn sullen in the middle of the track. Even, again, more atonal melodies and a doomy breakdown. Then we get into the second half of the album, and this, I think, is really where the doom shines the most. Well, starting off with Ungodliness, probably the most evil-sounding song on the album, like sinister riffs, grooves, tribal drums, but you do get a little bit of dissonance, but there's some nasty, nasty chugs going on with this track. Rise of the Blackest Sun. It's, again, we're back to more doom. It, again, feels very close to Asphyx. But there is some more up-tempo moments that show up here to kind of add a little bit more to the rhythm section. Clean melodies show up once again. But then, A King in the Filth, kind of, once again, kind of going back and forth between, like, classic Bull Thrower and Death Doom. Like, there's some doomy riffs. The tempo does shift to more mid-tempo rhythm. There's some double time, but again, another nasty doomy breakdown. And then, probably not only the longest track of the album, but maybe the best track on the album from a songwriting standpoint, Beneath Starless Skies. Atonal melodies with like a melodic doom progression, and it still remains very much a Death Doom song. However, the inspiration, I feel like, on this one's a little bit different from some of the songs. This one kind of feels closer to My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost. Like, it's very somber, little touches of maybe some gothic atmosphere. There's even a bass melody, a lumbering groove with even a tremolo melody on top. And then the closer, Resurrection of the Graveless, is largely like a punky, D-beat death metal song, kind of closer to like Swedish death metal, but you do get like a machine gun riff on top of a groove. And I didn't really touch much on leads. There weren't a whole lot of leads on here. Like, there was like maybe 4 tracks on the album where you do get a solo section or two. But they were done pretty well, most especially in the opening track. Like, there's even some harmonies that show up with the lead. Now, as far as any real complaints that I had on this album, I'd say my biggest issue would be that Beneath Starless Skies should have been the closer. I think Resurrection of the Graveless should have been more towards the middle of the album to kind of act as like a bit of a shift from the more old school death metal sound to the other side of the coin of the Death Doom sound. And I think if you would have put that song in the middle, I think it would have made this album get a little bit higher of a score. But overall, this album caught me by surprise. I thought this was some great stuff. I am going to go with a 4 out of 5 on this one. I definitely think if Resurrection of the Graveless could have been more in the middle, I would have given it a 4.5. But as it stands, it's a 4 out of 5. It's awesome. So if you are a fan of Asphyx, Bolt Thrower, Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, Incantation, check this out. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, thank you for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.